video in the right format? Am I audible and is the video in the landscape mode or is it turned around? Okay, so let's start. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Deva Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Okay, so we were looking at the split of the darshanas, the Indian darshanas, and we looked at just the listing of darshanas in pairs, Astika, Nastika, and then we looked at which are the Nastika darshanas, which are the Astika darshanas, and a slight introduction to what these really mean, as in the pairs mean in the Astika darshanas. Nyaya Vaisheshika are the logical, philosophical schools of thought. Then the Purvamimamsa and the Purvamimamsa and Uttarmimamsa as a pair go together in the sense that the Mimamsa aspect is common. Purvamimamsa Shastra looks at the Karma Kanda, Karma and the Upasana Kanda. So I have to rotate this as well again. Okay, it is. I set the session in the landscape mode, but somehow it has chosen the portrait. Is it better now? Okay, I am assuming that it's in the portrait mode now. Okay, so the Purvamimamsa school of thought focuses on the Karma Kanda and the Upasana Kanda, whereas the Uttarmimamsa using the same Mimamsa is the Pujita Vichara. What Mimamsa means is Pujita Vichara. It is an analysis of the statement of the Vedic statements, and it is not an individual statement. When you are analyzing an individual statement also, the Tatparya of the entire section has to be understood to land on the meaning. Therefore, Mimamsa, the Pujita Vichara, the Vichara aspect is analysis as to what is this sentence really conveying, what is its Tatparya Vishaya, and where does it fit in, meaning in which section does it fit in, how are these sentences related to each other, are they related, and if related, how are they related, is it a part of a main yaga, meaning the main karma, or is it a separate karma. Such kind of analysis is done in the Purvamimamsa. The same analysis Mimamsa is done in the Uttarmimamsa section, which deals with the Jnana Kanda. In the Jnana Kanda also there are Upasanas. In the Purvamimamsa section, meaning what the Purvamimamsa deals with by and large, it is not that Purvamimamsa does not deal with the Jnana Kanda statements at all, meaning the Upanishad statements at all. The Veda proper is seen as the entire body of knowledge. So in each branch of the Vedas, there is Samhita portion, which is the mantra portion, which is chanted. Then there is an application of these mantras in rituals. That ritualistic portion as to how these mantras are to be used in the rituals, which mantra has to be chanted during which karma, and how that karma has to be done, all that is dealt with in the Brahmana portion of the Vedas, which is the second section. The third part is the Aranyaka, which may deal with the Upasanas mostly. And these upasanas can be as part of the karma, karma meaning the rituals, or it may not be a part of the karma. So the upasanas which are part of the karma are called as karmanga upasanas. They have an anga angi bhava. Anga is a part, angi is that which has parts. Angaha asya asti iti angi. So angi is that which has parts, meaning the whole. So if the main karma is the whole angi, which has multiple karmas as angas, and upasanas, one or more upasanas as anga, then the upasana is also part of this whole. So there is a part-whole relation which is called as an anga-angi bhava. And there may be a separate upasana which is not connected to any karma. So that itself becomes an independent upasana. So there can be an anga upasana, karmanga upasana, or there can be independent upasana. Such upasanas exist in the Aranyaka. And the last section is what is called as Vedanta or Upanishads. So Vedanta is a samasa compound made up of two words, Veda and Anta. So Vedanam Antaha is Vedanta, that is the samasa shashti, tatpurusha samasa, meaning the ending part of the Vedas. This is the literal meaning. But what is the Anta? Bhagavan Bhashyakara, Shankaracharya, says that Vedanam Antaha Nishchayaha. The meaning of Anta is Nishchaya. What is the ascertained, concluded meaning of Vedas, meaning what is the Tatparya Vishaya, what is the conclusion of the Vedas, that is Anta. Because beyond Anta, beyond the end, there is nothing to be done. So what is an end? The end is where you have analyzed everything and you have concluded. And that section is Upanishads. So Upanishad is the refined thought or the refinement of all sorts of analysis. That is why it is Uttaramimamsa. Uttaram is the later analysis. So as I was saying, that it is not that the Purvamimamsa does not consider the Upanishad Vakyas. Then why do we call them as Karmakandis? Meaning those who deal with only karma. Because they see the Upanishad statements or those Vakyas of the Vedas, sentences of the Vedas, which do not have anything to do with the karma as Arthavada. Arthavada, generally it is considered as glorification. Now this glorification is also of multiple types. Need not be literally glorification, but for the lack of a better word in English, generally it is translated as glorification. So from the Purvamimamsaka's perspective, all the Vedanta Vakyas are glorification, Arthavada. They do not have literal meaning. That's what they intend to convey. So they say that we understand in the Upanishads and Aranyaka there are these statements. Why Aranyaka or even Samhita? Isha Upanishad is in the Mantra section, is in the Samhita portion, Mantra Samhita. So Upanishad does not mean necessarily that it is only at the end of the Vedas, meaning in the Shakha, in the branch, any branch. It is not necessarily at the end of the Vedas, but it is a culmination of thought which can occur in the Mantra section, Mantra Samhita section also. It can be in the Aranyaka also. For example, Brihadaranyaka is a Upanishad, it occurs in the Aranyaka portion. Taittiriya Upanishad also occurs in the Mantra as well as the Aranyaka portion. So it can occur anywhere in the Samhita, Aranyaka, or the end Upanishad portion. But what it means is that the subject matter of the sentence, if it is Atma alone, Atma meaning the Jivatma, the individual, and or Ishvara, Paramatma, Brahma, and it shows the Sambandha, the relation between the Paramatma and Atma, Brahma and Atma, whatever is that relation. We'll see that later when we look at Vedanta proper and different Vedanta schools of thoughts. But whatever that relation is, if it is dealing with the Atma Tattva only, not as part of a ritual, not as a ritual, not as an upasana also, really, it can be as an upasana, but which has the knowledge, meaning which reveals the relation, if there is any, between the individual and the creator, between Paramatma and Jivatma, between the Jivatma and Ishvara or Paramatma, Brahma. Those sentences or those sections are called as Upanishad, and they can occur anywhere in the Vedas. Therefore, the Uttaramimamsa section or the Uttaramimamsa school of thought is called as Jnana Kanda, dealing with Jnana Kanda, Vedanta. So this is this other pair. So why do the Purvamimamsakas say that the Vedanta section is considered by us, but it is Arthavada, is because they say that the entire Veda is talking about dharma. And what is dharma? Dharma is yaga. So they say yaga, meaning the rituals which are revealed by the Shastra, where our indriyas, none of the sense organs have access to such knowledge. That knowledge as revealed by Veda, whether it is related to Swarga, Pitraloka, some karma to be done to attain Pitraloka or Swarga, or to attain the Upadhi or the body which is better than a human body, such as the Devata's body, becoming a deity. All these, that there is such a deity possible, that there is such a deity existent, or there can be such life form, or there can be some travel involved to reach a particular loka, particular plane of existence. From Purvamimamsa perspective, there need not be a geographical place or some, something separated in space, such as a different, for a lack of a better word, a planet or something, a loka, if you understand the word loka. So loka can be understood as an experience also. It's a set of experiences which can be called as loka. So they say that Swarga Loka need not be a separate place which is separated in space, but it can be a sphere of experience, which can be here and after the death of the body, the Atma which survives can have a association with a particular kind of a body as gained by karmas and upasanas, where there is a sphere of experience, and that experience is sukha, sukhatmaka, happiness, ananda. So Swarga is Ananda Swarupa, and they say that since everyone wants Ananda, as we saw in the closing of the last patha, that no school of thought will say that Moksha is not Ananda Swarupa, meaning Moksha is not a state of happiness. So everyone would agree in one way or the other as to Moksha is a state of happiness, is the state of happiness. Therefore Swarga is, as per the Shastras, which are the only source that talk about Swarga. There is no other way to know that there is something called as Swarga, or there are Devata forms which are attainable. There is a Hiranyagarbha kind of a form which is attainable, which is a form where one is associated with all Sukha experienced by all living beings. So the happiness which is experienced in any which way by any living being and all at once, if it can be experienced, that is experienced by Hiranyagarbha, and that kind of a status is attainable by upasanas, karma and upasanas. This is what the Purvamimamsaka would say. So there are various upadhis, or there are various kind of bodies which can be attained. There are various spheres of experiences which can be attained with association of the Jivatma with such bodies on dropping of this body. And how are they to be attained? They are to be attained by some means which are revealed by the same Shastra which reveals Swarga or Hiranyagarbha, whether as a Loka or whether as an Upadhi. Therefore, what they say is that the Vedanta Vakyas, the Upanishad Vedanta Vakyas that the Uttaramimamsa deals with, all those set of Vakyas are talking about that Atma which survives the body on the death of the body, and that Atma is praised in the Vedanta Vakyas, Upanishads, through Arthavada. There's a glorification, so that the individual Karta, Yajamana of the karma, of the rituals, of the upasana, the meditations which are as a part of the ritual or independent, the Karta or the performer of that Yajamana feels enthused and motivated to do those karmas or upasanas, perform them and get those phalas, results. So they say all of these Upanishads are talking about the entity who is part of a ritual. So the ritual is the main task at hand to be done, kartavya karma, and through the karma and upasanas one has to reach the goal. So the one who has to reach the goal is also an anga, is also the karta or the yajamana is also a part of this ritual, which is the main thing revealed by the Shastra, and the dependent ingredients which are there, which are to be offered in the ritual, what kind of a setup is needed, which devata is to be invoked, what has to be offered to that devata at what point of time, using which mantra, how the ingredients are to be collected. For example, if the darbha has to be collected, a particular kind of a grass has to be collected for the ritual, then there is a mantra for that as well. The Vedas give a mantra as to Ishetva ityadi mantras are there to as to when one cuts the grass or uproots the grass also, which mantra has to be chanted to get that end result. So there are individual results as well as the result of the entire karma. Unless one follows everything that has been said, one cannot get all the Vishesha phalas, the entire result. These results cannot be seen. They are all adrishta. They are beyond the sense organs, beyond the grasp of the sense organs, because the karma itself is revealed by the Shastra, the goal is revealed by the Shastra, the means is revealed by the Shastra, the ingredients are revealed by the Shastras, the mantras and their applications are revealed by the Shastra. There is no other way to get to any of these. So atindriya vishayana shastrameva pramanam. So shabda pramana, there is only atindriya vishayas, those which are beyond the sense organs, there is only one pramana, which is Shastras. So Purvamimamsakas go through all of these to attain that end goal, and finally they say for all living beings there is only Swarga as the goal, because Swarga Swarupa is Sukha Swarupa. Everyone is hankering to reach that Sukha which is Nitya, which will never go away. Therefore the end goal, whether wanting or not wanting, whether knowingly or unknowingly, one is trying to get Swarga as the end result. That is the Purvamimamsaka's perspective. So while cutting the grass also, that mantra has to be uttered. While milking the cow also, to get the milk which has to be used in the ritual. For that also, what mantra has to be chanted to before milking the cow, the calf has to be separated from the mother cow, and how that calf has to be separated using a particular part of a tree, a branch of a tree, and while cutting that branch of the tree also there is a mantra. So it is quite a complex process. Everything has to be followed. While an offering has to be made, how that offering has to be prepared in rice or whatever it has to be prepared in, which mantra has to be chanted there, how it has to be placed, how the purification has to be done, all these have mantras. Now, why am I talking about all this is because other than this there is no particular philosophy separated out of the karma kanda for Purvamimamsakas. So anything which is revealed by the shastras as to be done, meaning kartavya karma, that itself will give you swarga. There is nothing else to be done. But a deity who has to be invoked in a particular fashion, with a particular mantra, with a particular dhyana, with a particular invocation of the devata with a rishi who saw that mantra, with the particular chandas which has to be used, a particular intonation which has to be used, meter. So all that has to be followed. The deity is to be meditated upon in a certain manner, and then the karma has to be done in that very manner, with all the mantras chanted at a proper time, the offering made at a proper time with the proper mantra, with the spouse being there, because most of these karmas are for a grahastha who has to be married, and the husband does not have eligibility individually. The wife has to be there, and that ritual will give results as disclosed by or revealed by the shastra only when all of this is followed. There may be results, but all the result, the entire result can be attained only when everything is followed. Therefore, Swarga is a goal which can be reached through karma and upasanas, or devata padvi, the status of a devata, particular devata can be attained, particular loka can be attained by following all of this while doing the nitya karma. The nitya karma such as sandhya vandana for a brahmachari, agni karya for a brahmachari, agnihotra for a grahastha, daily twice, sandhya vandana daily thrice. Then darsha purnamasa, all these yagas are to be done every fortnight on amavasya and purnima, and then the kamya karmas are separate. Now these darsha purnamasa rituals also can be done with or without kama, meaning wanting to do it as focused with the result, or wanting to do it without the focus on the results. Thereby the kamya karma will give swarga, meaning with a sankalpa. What a kamya karma is, that which is done with a sankalpa, that I want this result, as swarga, or putra kamishti ityadi, meaning what Dasharatha did for begetting Rama as his son. So these are all kamya karmas. So kamya karmas can be done with a result in mind, or without the result in mind. Nitya karmas can be done. The nitya karma, if it is done with a sankalpa, darsha purnamasa, then it will become a kamya karma. Without that, it becomes karma yoga and gives chitta shuddhi as per Uttaramimamsa, as per Vedantin. So we follow whatever has been followed by the Purvamimamsakas, especially Bhattas. There is a grouping there as to there are slightly different views in Karma Kanda also as to Prabhakara school of thought and Bhattas, Kumarila Bhattas. So we follow what Kumarila Bhatta says. Vyavahare bhattanayaha. There is a statement meaning in Vyavahara, in karma, in this loka, we agree with whatever Purvamimamsakas say as clarified or as elaborated by Kumarila Bhatta. So we agree with the Bhatta school in karma, but we do not say that that is the end goal. Meaning we is in the Vedantins, and as I said that all of these schools will be compared with the Vedantins. In that also Advaita Vedanta, and as to why also we'll see as we progress there. So Uttar Mimamsa and Purva Mimamsa go hand in hand in such a manner. I skipped the Yoga and Sankhya because I wanted to mention Purva Mimamsa first. Although we talked a little about the Nyaya and Vaisheshika schools, we are yet to go into details there. But we'll also look at the Pramanas as to what all Pramanas are there, valid means of knowledge, as accepted by various schools. And then we'll see which school accepts which set of Pramanas, or which Pramana or which set of Pramanas. And thereby we'll see how the thinking has progressed and why some Pramanas are being acceptable to a particular school of thought limits them, and why some other Pramanas are to be held valid for moksha as the goal. So Sankhya and Yoga. Sankhya, as we looked at, that they have these Purusha and Prakriti. Prakriti meaning the Mula Prakriti or Pradhana, what they call as Pradhana. And then there are 24 principles, Mahat Tattva, the universal intelligence, and then the Karmendriyas, Jnanendriyas, the Pancha Mahabhutas are included there. Pancha Pranas are included without being separately mentioned. They are the sense organs themselves. When they function individually, they have an individual role. They are counted separately in these 24 principles. But when they all come together as to how they are working due to prana. So Pancha Pranas, the 5 prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana, they are also included, but without a separate mention in the 24 principles. But what is the main tattva? That Pradhana or Prakriti is the Mula Karana, meaning the main cause behind this entire universe. So the entire universe has come out of this Pradhana, which is of what Swarupa, what is the nature of this Pradhana? It is Trigunatmika, meaning Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So the Sattva, Rajas and Tamas which are the nature, meaning all these three are not separate, not separable entities, but all three are there. When they are in balance, meaning when they are in equilibrium, then there is no creation. When does the creation start? The creation starts. When does the creation start? It starts when they fall out of equilibrium, meaning they fall out of sync of balance, they go in imbalance. And why is there an imbalance? Because there is universal karma of individual jivas which are ripe for fructification. So the world is in a particular way in the kalpa. At the beginning of the kalpa, whenever the world is created, it is created in continuation to the earlier kalpa. However it was in the earlier kalpa, it is created in such a manner now in the beginning of the next kalpa, coming out of pradhana as the material cause, keeping in mind of the karmas, which are sum total of karmas of all jivas. Meaning what? You take an individual, what is that person's karma? Any being, any living being, and we'll take a human being, because human being alone will generate karma. Meaning the life form of a human being is such that he is blessed with intelligence. Meaning there is some meta intelligence. Not only is there intelligence, but one knows that I am a thinker. Meaning not only is there buddhi, but one knows that one has buddhi. So there is a thought on thought possible, or there is an analysis possible of right and karma, meaning punya and papa. Karma is a terminology used for action also and the result of actions also. So when you say karma of Purvamimamsaka, it means the ritual also. Any karma, mantra chanting, whether it is a verbal karma or whether it is a mental karma, meaning a meditation or a thought, or it is a physical action. So whether it is verbose, mental, or whether it is physical action, all three are karmas. And the resultant of that is also called as karma, punya karma, papa karma, or karma phala also. So karma is a terminology which is common for the action and its results. So when I say in Sankhya's creation, what happens is that the karma of all jivas, an individual jiva has some punya papa, not some. The Vedantic aspect will say that it has always been there. This is anadi, the jiva has been anadi, karma has always been there. So based on the karma, there is bhoga, there is an experience. So when the world is recreated in a particular fashion, it is for the bhoga of all jivas at that point of time. Meaning, whatever kind of experience is due to whatever set of karmas which have become ripe for fructification, those set of karmas leading to a particular set of experiences due to a particular jiva in a particular place, in a particular time, in a particular era, whatever have you, you take one jiva. So whatever experience is due to his own karma, that entity's karma, jiva's karma, at that particular place and time, that person will be born in a particular kind of a body which will make such experiences possible. Which experiences? The same experiences which the jiva has struggled for with sankalpa, that I want this kind of an experience, or even without planning, unknowingly has ended up doing some karma which leads to such punya or papa. Punya will give happiness, circumstances which will bring happiness to this jiva, and papa would lead to dukkha or sorrow through circumstances which will be created for this jiva at a particular time and place, in a particular life form only. So when a set of karmas which are called as prarabdha, they are due for a particular jiva, that jiva will be born in a particular life form in some specific place and some specific time, and this is true with all jivas. Therefore, one may take a human body or a devata body or a plant's body or a insect's body or a bird or an animal, particular kind of animal, and such kind of circumstances to be created for all set of jivas at all times. Such kind of a world with such kind of objects has to be created. So that is the imbalance in these gunas, and the pradhana starts acting. Now mind you, pradhana is jada, meaning it is insentient. How does it start creation then without a sentient entity backing it? So they say there is a sentient entity called Purusha, whom we will call as Ishvara. That Purusha is a special Purusha. Jiva is also Purusha, but Jiva is not a special Purusha. There are multiple Jivas, as many Jivas are there, they are all Purushas, but there is a supreme Purusha who is a sentient being, but who is a Bhokta. All these Purushas are Bhoktas. The supreme Purusha is a Bhokta. He is not associated with Pradhana from his side, but Pradhana is associated with is what we call as Ishvara, but they'll say as Purusha. In which manner? So they give an example that just like at the sight of a beloved, a woman would start dancing. That is the example. So the creation is a dance as per them. So this Pradhana, although insentient, as though starts dancing at the very sight or presence of the Purusha, And this dance leads to dance, meaning it's an example that they give. That is the creation, meaning there is an imbalance in gunas and the creation starts. Thereby, Sankhyas talk about this kind of a creation with pradhana as the material cause without Purusha having a play. But Purusha will have bhoga of all the creation. So Jiva is a bhokta there. Based on the karma, there is a creation, and then the Purusha will have bhoga. We'll see the yoga school of thought in the which is the practical aspect. Based on Sankhya, they accept that the Sankhya's pradhana and being the main cause, meaning what we will call in Vedanta as Mula Prakriti or Maya, or in Advaita school of thought, Avidya also, that pradhana is jada, but it is the material cause as accepted by Sankhyas, and yogis or the yoga school of thought accepts that, but that is not their main tattva. Their main school of thought is samadhi as moksha, whereas the Sankhya school of thought says what this Sankhya means, based on the Sankhya, the numbers, how they have divided this prapancha. We'll see more into this a little later as to what these are really. But their idea of moksha is what? Separating the jiva or the purusha cognitively from these 24 principles where purusha is included. So purusha separate from pradhana and all the effects of pradhana of the various hierarchies, the sense organs, the physical body which is created with Pancha Mahabhutas, meaning the 5 great elements, the space, or what is in earlier translation they used to call it as ether, then Vayu, the wind, air, then fire, water and earth. So these 5 great elements have come together in various combinations to create this world, become material for these worlds. And the body is also made up of that. So you separate yourself cognitively from that body, from pranas, from sense organs, from the mind, from the intellect. All these are part of the hierarchy which has come from pradhana, meaning the prakriti, end being vikruti, the effects, and in middle you have prakriti vikruti, meaning which are effects as well as cause for the others. So end level is just vikruti, all effects. So you have to separate yourself from all of these cognitively, meaning you, the Purusha, should be known as separate from all of this, but you are still an individual separate from the other Purushas and also the Supreme Purusha. So you are a Jiva, one Jiva who is separate from other Jivas, Jivatmas, and also from Paramatma, whom they call as Purusha. And that is moksha for them, meaning you are separated cognitively. That knowledge will free you. How yoga differs or builds upon this, we'll see in the next patha, and we'll stop here. I'll look at some questions. Is there a sannyasa system in Purvamimamsa also? Yes. See, the sannyasa is mentioned in the Upanishad part. So what the Purvamimamsa says is that this sannyasa, which is talked about, so as I mentioned that there is a Samhita portion, Mantra Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka and Upanishads. So loosely you can say that a brahmachari in the Varnashrama, a brahmachari meaning after Upanayana, after the Yajnopayita Samskara, the thread ceremony, which has to be done at a particular age for a Brahmana, for a Kshatriya, for a Vaishya. So the Traivarnikas, the people belonging to the 3 Varnas, they have adhikara in Yajnopavita and other samskaras. So there is a age group when it has to be done. So when that is done, the person becomes a Dvija, what is called as twice born, meaning he becomes a brahmachari, and then he studies the Mantra Samhita onwards, but at least the Mantra Samhita. So his focus is there. Why? Because the Brahmana portion, even if he studies, he has no eligibility to do anything there. In the Aranyaka portion also, and Upanishad portion also, if he studies, he is not eligible to really do anything, meaning which is discussed in the Brahmana, that for that one has to become a grahastha, has to become married. And in Aranyaka portion also, the upasanas which are taught, some may be doable, but for the most part, they may also be part of the karma. Therefore, one has to become grahastha. So in a grahastha, one would be analyzing and practically doing what has been elaborated in the Brahmana portion loosely. Then in the Aranyaka, the upasanas which are taught, they are to be done by a vanaprastha, the third stage of life, where one has seen the face of the grandchild, the grandson. So that makes a person eligible to walk out to vanaprastha and focus mostly on, so live on basic necessities to keep the body going and focus on upasanas mostly. So that is the Aranyaka portion. And Upanishads core orthodoxy says that it has to be studied by a sannyasi. The main eligibility is sannyasa there. And sannyasa is also of two types. So when the Purvamimamsa talks about that sannyasa, where giving up karma is meant, what does the Purvamimamsaka school of thought say? They say that the sannyasa does not go well with the karma which is the means to moksha, which is swarga, meaning the goal is swarga, that itself is moksha. So one who has taken sannyasa has no adhikara in karma. Agni tyaga has to be done, and Agni is needed in almost all rituals. So Agni tyaga, karma tyaga being done, nyasa, sannyasa is samyak nyasa, nyasa is tyaga of karma. So if karma is given up, which is the means to moksha, swarga as per Purvamimamsa, then how can sannyasa be talked about by Vedas? Meaning giving up the means itself, how will it lead to a goal? So therefore they say this sannyasa has to be taken by whom? By that person who has reached such an age that, or health, where he has lost his limbs, or he is ill, he is deceased and is unable to, or blind, etc., where he cannot do karma, or one who has lost his wife, because wife is needed for karma. So if the wife passes away, then the person has to get remarried to have continuing adhikara in karma. So all these people who have, so to say, lost the adhikara in karma, they are eligible to take sannyasa as per Purvamimamsa. Why? Because karma cannot be given up otherwise. As long as you are alive, yavat jivet, till then. So the yavat jiva shruti, what is called as yavat jiva shruti, yavat jivet agnihotram juhyat. One has to keep on doing agnihotra. Agnihotra cannot be done unless the wife is there, unless one has the capacity to do that, meaning the physical health should be there, and one should earn for that purpose also. So if one is unable to earn, one is unable to keep the health to do agnihotra ityadi karmas, then what is the other option? He cannot give up the karma. So while being in grahastha ashrama, he cannot give up the karma. So what should he do? He should take to sannyasa. That is the only way you can take sannyasa as per Purvamimamsa. It will lead to nothing, but it will not lead to papa as per them. They'll say that if you are in a grahastha ashrama and you are giving up karma, then you will get papa, because the Shruti says you have to do karma. You are unable to do karma. Physically unable, financially unable, whatever be the reason. So if you are unable to do the karma for valid reasons, then the only way out for you is to take sannyasa. This is the sannyasa they agree with. What is the question there? Bring out such scientific method. Okay. So atheism, we'll see in atheism, Charvakas we'll talk about, we have talked about. But there is not much to discuss in Charvaka. We will look up scientific this thing as part of an overlap with Charvakas and Nayayikas. See, These, as I said initially in the first patha itself, as an introduction, I said that we broadly divide these in such schools, but there are people who will have overlap. It is not a clear demarcation. So there are people who will say, I agree with this also, that also. In Hindi, what they say, ये भी चलता है, वो भी चलता है, ये भी ठीक है, वो भी ठीक है. So you agree with this also. You borrow something from this. Buddhism, you borrow. Let's say people have done vipassana. Nothing wrong with that. So vipassana meditation, you say that, oh, I love silence, and then I'll follow vipassana and add this sandhya vandana also, and then I'll do karma also. I'll do this for Pitraloka also. I'll do meditation also. I'll do yoga for health also, and I'll do I'll do this upasanas for samadhi also. So there is a mix possible. What we are looking at is the advantages and disadvantages and the perspective of these schools and the strengths of these schools to make you reach the goal. Whether that is a goal possible through such means, or those means leading to goals also, if at all they are possible, whether these goals themselves are sufficient enough, or are they really the end goal, meaning whether they'll be permanent. The nature of that moksha as agreed upon by those very schools, whether it is logically possible. If it is logically possible, then is that goal the end goal or not? Thereby, if at all you mix it also, so science will fall in this. Science uses logic as well. So not that they are only atheists, meaning Charvakas are atheists, Buddhists are atheists, Jains are atheists from our perspective, meaning atheist means they are not astikas, they are nastikas. So with this nastika view of the science and using tarkikas, astikas logic also, there will be an overlap. So you'll see that the way these darshanas are structured, any new school of thought will either fall into one or multiple of these, more or less. So we are not talking about the religions, but if you look at it, the analysis and refutation done can be reused for others as well. So we may not discuss the science proper, but in Nyaya, whatever we discuss as a refutation also, as compared to Vedanta, all this will hold good for them as well. We'll see what we can as the questions come up. I'll see whatever I am able to do yatha shakti. What else is there? So okay, we'll stop here. We'll continue in the next patha. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste. Dhanyavadaha.